So yesterday was a big day in the media because on multiple different websites that I check out every day, news websites, they're all running similar stories. And those similar stories happen to be the same stories that Pap and I have now been hitting on for over a month, which is Florida is experiencing a worker exodus thanks to Ron DeSantis' anti-immigration bill that he signed into law in early May. The law goes into effect on July 1st, so we're just a week and a half away from that horrific thing happening. And Florida is experiencing a shortage of workers now, which is exactly what every person with a brain predicted was going to happen. But here's one person that I guess occasionally has a brain, occasionally doesn't, and it happens to be a state legislator here in Florida, Republican by the name of Rick Roth. And what Mr. Roth recently told reporters was that, yeah, this piece of legislation, it's having, quote, unintended consequences of workers, migrant workers, fleeing the state because they're not legal immigrants here in the state of Florida, but we got about 800,000 of them, making up a little under 10% of our entire workforce, so that's a lot. And they're leaving because now they know that their employers are going to have to use the E-Verify system, that if they go to the doctor or a hospital, the hospital's going to have to report them as an undocumented immigrant. That's all part of DeSantis' law that he signed, that Republicans, including Rick Roth, by the way, passed in the state legislature. But now they're like, it's having some unintended consequences. But don't worry, folks, because Republican Roth stopped short of saying he regrets passing the bill. Oh, God, no, he'd still vote for it today. What he says is the problem is that, the reality of it hasn't been well signposted, meaning people are misunderstanding it. These migrants don't really understand what it means, so that's why they're fleeing the state, because it only applies to people who get a job in the state illegally after July 1st, right? So if you're already here illegally, that's totally cool. We just don't want more illegal people coming in. Like that is what they're saying the law says, and it is. Technically, that's true. Yeah, sure. So if you're already here illegally, right, you got nothing to worry about. Unless you go to the hospital or unless you need a doctor's visit, in which case that July 1st deadline no longer applies to you. So, Mr. Roth, you are in fact lying about these people's vulnerabilities here in the state of Florida. You're lying to them by saying, there's unintended consequences. This is not unintended. This is literally what you wanted the legislation to do. This is literally how it's written. So you can lie to the American public all you want about unintended consequences, but if you weren't a complete and total brain-dead moron, you would have seen these consequences coming a mile away because everybody else did. Hell, we've been talking about it for a month here at Ring of Fire. So don't blame unintended consequences when every single person here was warning you about it, not to mention business leaders in the state of Florida have been warning you all about it since you were negotiating the bill, and now those horrible predictions have become a reality, and the bill's not even in effect yet. As I said, multiple reports yesterday came out talking about this new worker exodus here in Florida. So let me read this. This is from the Tallahassee Democrat. Florida employers in construction, restaurants, landscaping, and many other service sectors already are struggling to fill jobs during what has been a post-pandemic sustained stretch of low unemployment. The new immigration limits will compound that, these business leaders say. But it gets even worse. However, the newspaper observed, many business owners still, quote, refuse to speak publicly about the measure, fearing it could antagonize DeSantis. So you're so afraid of this little minuscule guy in his boots up there in Tallahassee. You're so afraid of him that you're willing to let your business go under because you cannot find people to work for you, meaning you cannot do your work. You would rather go into bankruptcy than call out that jackass. And if that's the case, then I've lost all sympathy for you, and you get what you deserve. Thanks for watching, everyone, and well, here comes the awkward part at the end of the video where I ask you to like, comment, and share, and subscribe for more content from Ring of Fire. Also, you should consider becoming a member for some exclusive content and perks, including early access videos and exclusive videos. Check out the link in the description.